How sweep it is. The Mets with an ass kicking of the Washington Nationals at Citi Field in front of a big crowd on Wednesday. Maybe not the first two nights, but a packed house on a Wednesday night as the Mets took care of business 10-0 over the Nats. And boy, the boys in orange and blue are scorching hot. 2 games up on the Braves, tied with the Diamondbacks now for the second wild card spot. The Mets are must-see, must-watch. You got to be there. It's the final homestand, and so much good is happening. And we'll have plenty of good on the Sick Podcast Mets Magic because it's a live, amazing, but true podcast reunion. As my former co-host, former Mets pitcher, Nelson Figueroa joins me, Jake Brown, on a brand new episode, a sweep edition of the Sick Podcast Mets Magic. Let's do it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Mets Magic with Jake Brown.
And it's in there, strike 3 called. The Mets win the pennant. The New York Mets have won the National League pennant. Put it in the books. The New York Mets, for the first time in 15 years, are champions of the National League.
The sickest New York Mets podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back to the Sick Podcast, Mets Magic. I'm your host, Jake Brown. Smash that thumbs up below if you're watching on YouTube. 2 thumbs up, Ebert and Roper, because it's a movie in Mets land. Comment below. Let us know your thoughts on the 84-68 Mets, a team that I said before the season would go right around 85 wins. Well, barring a collapse that's like my old co-host played for in 08, I hope that doesn't happen. Let me knock on wood. I actually have wood in front of me on this table.
Whoa. Pause.
As I'm in a conference room in Philadelphia, just where I thought I'd be a couple months ago. That's why you have Vincent Van Gogh behind me. Look at this artwork. That looks like stuff I drew in like 2nd grade. I actually ate paper in kindergarten, I think it was, or pre-K, and then I threw up all over the floor because apparently you're not supposed to eat paper. You're supposed to make paper, and that's what we're doing here at Mets Magic. Figgy's back. It's an amazing but true reunion. Welcome back to the program. This is your first time joining me as a member of the unemployment line. Boy, is it a pain in the ass to get unemployment. Like, you got to file a claim every week. Listen to this. You can't work more than 10 hours per week while getting unemployment. Like, do they know the economy we're in? Deodorant is $12. Like, if you don't want to smell like swamp ass, that's $12. And they're going to tell me I can't work more than 10 hours? Good God, it's ridiculous. Welcome to the Mets Magic.
Oh, great to be back on Mets Magic. And listen, some things never change. You, my friend, remind me of a certain someone who has 9 different thoughts going all together and then blend them in so perfectly at the end. You're brilliant. You're a brilliant mind. Who
is that person that I remind you of?
You know, the guy who said people are eating cats and dogs.
Oh, that guy. Yes. We could talk about him in a bad way. It's not the New York Post anymore, but we won't go the political route here. I know a few people were at some rally in Long Island, but the rally is in Queens, and that's the Mets rally.
That's right.
Not the rally of dog and cat eating. We're eating baseballs right now in Queens. And 10-0 Figgy. They sweep the Nationals, just what they needed after a weekend in Philly. By the way, very nice ballpark. Had a good time. Had the Burnt Ends cheesesteak. Didn't bring Lactaid. Was very good. Very good Burnt Ends cheesesteak and Federal Donuts. So if you do go to Philly, I recommend those. And, the Mets, 2 games they could have won there. Obviously, they blow it Sunday. They blow it Saturday. Saturday, they're up 4-0. They can't find a way to close it. The 16th president of the United States, Cal Stevenson, puts them ahead on Saturday. And then the colonel in the Civil War, Buddy Kennedy, no relation to John or JFK Jr. or RFK Jr., Robert John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. He's not related to any of them. And he put them ahead Sunday. But then the Mets said, you know what? We're resilient. And here on Mets Magic, we talk about the resiliency. And they said, we got to take care of business at home. No matter how many fans, and that's a topic I want to discuss with you in a little bit, but that's not the most important thing. It's about the bats, and it's about Luisangel Acuña. There is an angel in the infield. And there's no Danny Glover. There's no JP. I don't remember the actor's name, the kid in that movie, or the little black kid. I don't remember him either. But there's an angel in the infield, and he probably should have been here a while ago. But, Figgy, I understand the Mets' reasoning. You weren't going to play him much with Lindor there. And, this kid has stepped in remarkably for Francisco Lindor, who, not only hurt his back, literally, figuratively hurt the back from carrying the team. And you saw the offense, how much they struggle without him. Well, this kid has apparently sparked everyone else. 7 for 15, home runs in back-to-back days. He hit 7 in 131 games. He's got 2 in 5 days. Acuña is a spark plug, and the Max Scherzer trade is now the Luisangel Acuña trade.
Without a doubt, I think, and that's when they saw an opportunity to get a player, and it wasn't necessarily that he was a finished product. It was a little bit of a gamble, but with the name and the pedigree, and even the brothers backing, saying he might be a better hitter than me, which is a tall ask, right? This kid has gone
very
out
similar
there
swing, very similar swing.
They've been putting it side by side. Very similar swing. I do think he's not necessarily looking to tap into that power swing very much, but I think in both games, lopsided as it was, hey, look for a pitch and try and do some damage, right? I love just his demeanor, just the calmness that he has. And I go back to spring training when these guys were all together. His locker was very close to Lindor's, very close to Pete Alonso's. So they didn't have the rookies in one other corner. They had the rookies right with the superstars so that they could talk to them on a daily basis. They could feel like they could access those superstars. And it was a different vibe in the clubhouse, just being in the clubhouse and seeing how those guys, they truly had to get to know each other. You had a new manager, a new president of baseball operations. It was just a very different vibe to the year prior, where it was, business. They were going to just take care of business. They put Hall of Famers at the top of the rotation. Alvarez wasn't even a thought. Buck Showalter kept trying to keep Alvarez down as much as he could, put him down as much as he could, saying that, he wasn't ready for the big time. And he keeps hearing how he's a superstar, but he hasn't seen it yet. Well, I think we realize that, he's taking those strides and continues to help this team. If it's not with the bat, it's with the glove. The throwing arm is a little bit of a concern. I've seen some really erratic throws out of him. But you go with what I was talking about with Acuña and his comfortability with this team. He's not overwhelmed. He knows he fits in. And I think Lindor did a great job of that early on in spring. He had these guys taking extra ground balls, showing them the way that they can do things. He had Vientos and Beatty come out and work with him. That was something that was huge to Lindor. It's one thing to be a superstar. It's another thing to be an unselfish superstar. And I think the results are paying off with the way that Acuña is playing now.
Yeah, and he's making the plays in the field. I know he had that one little error the other day, made up for it. But, even that error wasn't entirely his fault. It was a little bit of a low throw, and it just kind of looked like hit off his shoe, or he just couldn't get it. But otherwise, he's looked smooth in the field. He's made it look easy. He's hitting for power. I mean, the nerds are loving his exit velocity. I mean, he's ripping these balls, and he crushed that homer tonight. And listen, the naysayers will say it's the Nationals. He's facing terrible pitching. This is still big league pitching. And I think there's something to it. And you could speak to this as someone who set records in the minor leagues to coming to the big leagues. And, maybe the exuberance it brings you. It seems like Luisangel Acuña maybe was bored in AAA. And he kind of has that swagger and moxie where I feel like there's times where he's not all the way there in AAA, and maybe he's not playing his game. And he even said to Carlos Mendoza, who should be right there with Murphy as manager of the year. I mean, what Mendoza's done is absolutely remarkable. But, he even said to him, he's like, I feel better with the bright lights on. And he started Saturday. I was there, and he had the 2-hit game, but the lights have been on the last couple nights and night games. And this kid is playing like he's, on Broadway. He's playing like he's James Monroe Iglehart, the genie in Aladdin, my guy. He's a Tony Award winner at short, and he's hitting like it. He's fielding like it. And Figgy, I feel like there is something to just getting that call finally. And it feels like it's overdue. He's been waiting for it. Maybe his numbers weren't blowing you away in AAA, but his AAA numbers doesn't show the kind of player he is. And I know it's early 15 at-bats, but this kid could be special. on an infield that could be special when you factor in him, Mark Vientos, and don't forget Ronnie Mauricio waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I know. We soon forgot how, a big Mauricio was another guy who was going to take a big step forward. Jeff McNeil was signed as almost like a utility player, as a 4-year deal that he took, happily. And even with his struggles, you were like, oh, McNeil is a type of guy who can, hit like a silver slugger. We haven't seen that guy all year long. We saw second half was getting better. That was one of the reasons why Acuña wasn't brought up. We have to realize that this regime is very, very different than years past. This regime doesn't give a damn how much you've gotten paid. They don't give a damn how much time you have in the big leagues. They don't give a damn if they were the ones who brought you in here. You're not performing, there are other options, and they go right to it. The depth that they have up and down between, even the infielders, the bullpen, all the prospects that they got in all those trades, that's great. But David Stearns has made some savvy moves throughout. Tyrone Taylor, fantastic.
He's been just amazing.
Yeah, he does everything well, right? So you look at him, he just does everything well. He's not a one-trick. You love to be able to bring him and put him at any time. He can steal a base for you. He can do it all. So that David Stearns is showing, and he's not standing there front and center and saying, "Look at me, look at me." Something about him. I think it's we. You always hear him speaking. It's we. And Carlos Mendoza, same thing. We are credit, and I think you're gonna. Mendoza really should be the front runner for the manager of the year. Pat Murphy, remember, they had a good team the last 2 years, 3 years in a row. They're doing very, very well. Don't get me wrong. They win the division. That's great. But the Mets were thought to be in a punt situation. No ace of the staff. You had Diaz in and out all year long. Pete Alonso wasn't his best year.
You're cutting in and out a little bit.
Starting pitchers, they have come out.
Yeah, you're cutting in a little bit out, but what's interesting about the Murphy Mendoza situation, the Mets are only 3 games behind the Brewers now. I mean, 3.5, I guess. They're right there with the Brewers. I mean, this is a team they might end up playing. They might have a better record when the season's said and done than the Brewers, yet the Brewers are going to have home field. So it's very intriguing. Mendoza, I mean, I always say this. When you don't talk about the manager much, they're doing a good job. It's like an umpire. If you're not mentioning the umpire, they're doing a good job. He hasn't done a ton wrong, and you got to love it. We're on YouTube, the Sick Podcast, Mets Magic, at Sick Pod Mets. Sand Reckoner said, incredible win. Not to nitpick, but why is Maytone pitching in blowouts? I thought he was inner circle status. I agree. I mean, I would have just had Brazoban pitch a couple innings there down the stretch. Use your lower leverage, maybe even Adam Ottavino in that situation. Why not? So I agree, but I'm not going to nitpick a bullpen move in a blowout. But, I do think Maytone has pitched into a situation where he's your guy in close games. So could be just a usage situation. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, no, you saw guys who hadn't pitched for a week, and Ottavino and Brazoban, those guys hadn't pitched in a week. The starters have been going that deep that you can guns, and those try to do make sure that guys aren't too well rested or get rusty. At the same time, be able you need to do keep fresh as they can be for when they're called upon in bigger situations.
Arlenis is in the chat. Hi, y'all. 2 of my favorite guys. One of the best. We love Arlenis. That's how you say her name, right? Or is it Arlenis? I think it's Arlenis. I gotta make sure I say her name correctly. We don't want to mess up people's names. Make sure I said that. Arlenis, comment. Make sure I said your name right. Not everyone's name is Jake Brown. It's as simple as can be. Nelson Figueroa, a fairly simple name as well. But Luisangel Acuña, not the most simple. I like to call him Luisangel because he has been an angel. It's going to be very intriguing here to see what happens with Lindor when he comes back, because 2 to 5 days in Mets terms is 2 to 5 weeks. Like, we don't know if he's going to be back this weekend. And as good as Acuña's been, you need him. You're going up against the Phillies this weekend. Like, you got the big boys coming to town, a team that just beat you 2 out of 3, and it's not a 3-game set. It's a 4-game set. It's going to be packed at Citi Field. Citi Field should be rocking, but it makes you think, why was DJ Stewart here? Like, I get Acuna may have not got all the playing time, but man, like the only reason Stewart was here was he's a lefty bat. Who cares what side he hits on if he does not hit? So it just blows my mind that it took the Mets this long, because you're seeing the star power that Acuna has, and no doubt about it, if the Mets get in, I mean, he's got to be on the roster. Like, if you got one spot left, Acuna's getting in over Eddie Alvarez, and Alvarez has even been fun. And this is the thing I mentioned to you and we've talked about. David Stearns hammering down roster spots 25 through 40. The back end guys, the Tyrone Taylor, the Acuñas, these guys, they haven't had a rookie come up and have their first hit until now. I mean, this is the first time I think they said since 1970. I forget the name. It was some random player. Of course, Gary knew who it was. But since 1970, it's been this late in the season they had their first big league hit. So you haven't exactly had rookies come up here, but you have all these contributors of some sort outside of DJ Stewart. And David Stearns has really done a remark. And that's a previous regime. That's almost like they brought him back because they said, hey, look what he did here in 2 months. But the new guys he's brought in really made you forget about the things that went wrong. And that's the other half of the trade with Taylor was Adrian Hauser. And then a name that he's even escaping me because he was so bad early in the year. I forgot who's the infielder. Joey Wendell was the other one that went wrong.
Joey Wendell, Zach Short.
Zach Short. You forget about all these guys because they fell off the face of the earth. But the other moves he's made have fell on the face of the earth, and it's been remarkable. Arlene says, love that they've been able to keep it up without Lindor, because that way he can rest up and not feel frustrated and want to make things happen for the team. That's a great point, because like I said, he's been putting the team on his back, Figgy, and I think you're going to need him against the Phillies, but it shows you if they can win some important games without him, let him get the back right, whether it's the icy hots, whatever he's putting on his back, whatever the training staff's giving him. Maybe you could speak to back injuries in your career, how long it took. But, man, Acuna is making it easier to have a sweat-free Lindor few days.
Yeah, vitamin W does it every single time, right? That's the remedy for all that ails, vitamin W.
I didn't know there was a vitamin W.
Oh, there is. Or you can go with vitamin V for victories. It doesn't matter. Either way, W victory.
Yeah. I thought you were going to the Dr. Phil's School of Medicine. I got Philadelphia medicine right across the street.
So no one cares how you get it done while your superstar is out. They just care that you get it done. We saw the Yankees last year when Judge went out. They were horrible. They were shell of themselves, and it was only one man that was missing, right? It's a big man, but again, Lindor went out, and we're not saying that this team is the exact same, but man, they've put up a ton of runs in a ton of different ways. It wasn't just hitting the long ball. It's getting on. It's grinding out at bats. It's taking pitches. It's getting on and forcing the pitcher to throw good pitches. I think that's one of the biggest things is that you've seen this team evolve over the season, and whatever the flip or whatever the switch that was flipped around June 1st, after the meeting and after the Jorge Lopez and after all the fun things that happened this season, the bottom line is this: they've played as one of the, if not the best team in baseball. And it goes back to the very first thing that Carlos Mendoza had said about communication, conversations, relationships, and about going out and having fun. They've always looked, after they got done with those 11 games and the Jorge Lopez situation, they looked like they were having fun playing baseball. Like, with all the things that the Yankees were 30 games above 500, and then they struggled mightily and they dropped down in the standing. It was like, oh my God, the sky is falling. What's wrong? Why can't this team score runs? It's just Judge and Soto. You go and look at Queens, and it was like, dude, you see what Bader's doing? You see what Manaea's doing? You see what Severino's doing? All these reclamation projects, all the misfit toys that they gathered and said, hey, we think we can make you better. And what's going to be interesting is moving forward, if they're going to be able to retain these guys, if they're going to be able to say, hey, you saw how good you got with us in 1 year. Imagine if we can continue doing this for the next 2-3 years. We'd love to have all these guys back. This team has gelled like no team I've ever seen before. And I think that's one of the biggest things about David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza and the message. And you talk about the culture. Remember how we've heard this already? How many times? How many first-year managers have we seen coming in with you have to build a winning culture and a winning culture this, and all those guys. You look at the way that throughout the season, all the mismanagement, all the mistakes that were made. And even when Buck Showalter was here, they won 103 games and everything seemed like roses. And the very next to be much, much better. What are we seeing? We're seeing a team that they fight for each other. And even a guy like McNeil, who could be a curmudgeon at times, right? He gets into his own feelings about his at-bats and kind of sulks. Once he said, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go out there and try and hit the ball hard and have some fun, because everybody else was having fun, right? The guy that was taking his job away from him, Iglesias, was having fun. He's doing concerts after games. He's got a number one hit record on the pop charts during the season. We've never heard this. We've never seen this before. And instead of fighting it, what did McNeil do? He bought into it and had a tremendous second half. It's a shame that he got hurt, but he was even holding up the OMG sign. Like, these guys really, really have taken this thing and taken team chemistry to another level.
The final home weekend of the season, I got to imagine Friday the OMG remix comes out. Tim Healy basically reported, he didn't report this, but he said on with me last week or 2 weeks ago that he's not allowed to say, but he gave me a clue. He said it's an artist from Miami, which tells me it's my alter ego, Pitbull.
Is it Nicky Jam because she's hot?
It will be Pitbull. Nicky Jam.
Guy.
Oh, right. Yes. Cats and dogs were eating them again. So many references to the Cheeto man. I can't keep up. He's also, we could describe him as the guy, as the label behind you. If you didn't know, you have to your left of your head. I think it is.
Yeah. Oh, I know
Pitch
exactly
Road?
what it says.
Is it Pitch Road? Does it say
Road?
Road?
Pitch Road. It's Pitch Road.
Oh, Pitch. Road. Oh, I get it. He's a pitcher. Yeah. you have to like move your head to like turn the B to a P.
Nice.
Yeah, he resides there as well. The Sick Podcast, Metro Magic at SickPod Mets. Smash that thumbs up below. Mary Lawler is in the chat. Said, "Hi guys, this is fun." Mary is a loyal listener of the show, and this team is fun. This is fun. This team's fun. And it took us ending the Amazing but True for the Mets to have the most memorable team of our lot. We sacrificed our old podcast for this team to be good, and who would have thunk it? I mean, I thought this team would contend for a wild card spot, be 85 wins, but this team is sitting here on September 18th on the eve of a 4-game set, the final home series of the season before the Mets go to Atlanta for a series that could determine the season. But we got to thank the Cincinnati Reds for their hard work this week against the Braves. Thank you for your service. Who would have thought we'd be sitting in there 84-68, still with 10 left? I mean, this team, Figgy, goes 6-4 in the last 10, which is very doable. They are a 90-win team and are still fighting for a wild card spot. This is a wild card that in July we thought it'd be about 8 games over, 10 games over. You might have to be 18 games over, depending what happens here down the stretch. Now, the Diamondbacks will go at the Brewers for 4. They are home versus the Giants for 3. And then a huge series, Padres Diamondbacks in Arizona the last 3 of the season. So they're going to beat up on each other. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how this wild card plays out. The Braves, their remaining schedule, Figgy, is they play the Marlins this week. So we're going to need the Marlins to do what they've done to us and what they did to you guys when you played over the weekend. Then the huge Mets-Braves series in Atlanta. And then versus the Royals. And the Royals have been one of the fun stories in baseball, along with the Tigers. Like, Mets and Tigers are – Mets, Tigers, Royals are the 3 best stories. I think the Tigers, Mets are the top 2 right now just because of the Tigers' run that they're on with basically – Gary mentions it every night, like 2 starting pitchers and a bunch of bullpen games. The Tigers are a remarkable story. And how about a Mets-Tigers World Series? I mean, how funny would that be? Arlene is in the chat saying, this team is so lovable, and they actually like each other, which I think has been so important because you have everyday players taking a lesser role and happy because they know it's the best for team. And that's a great point. Arlene is on a heater in the chat. She's 100% right. This team clearly likes each other. And a big example that figured the last couple of nights is the 5 starting pitchers doing a kumbaya circle, jumping together, like when they have a great start. And like, how are you not going to pitch well when you know at the end of your start, you're going to hug 4 other grown men and cheer together? I mean, it's joyful. Every month is Pride Month for this Mets team. Like, butts are being grabbed, wieners are being slapped together. The Mets, happy Pride year for this Mets team. It is just a team that likes each other. That was not the case last year. And what you said with Buck, I think, is a big reason. And we mentioned Mendoza more lighthearted. Guys were on their toes with Buck. It's just a different team and a team more united. And I think that's that X factor. And something with Stearns, he brought in high character guys. I don't need to say about Glazes. We've gone on for months about what he's been. He's been remarkable. But a Taylor, a Manaea, a Severino, hot Bader with the chemistry, high character guys. And you mentioned, it's going to be interesting who they bring back. They have to offer Manaea a deal. They'd be stupid not to. You have to offer Severino something. I don't know if they're going to bring back both, but they'd be stupid and not try and bring back both. Bader, I think, is gone. I'd be a little surprised. I think they'll maybe give him an offer for a year, but Bader's not getting some long-term deal. And he's a part-time player. I think the Mets will survive without him, but those other two, got to work on bringing them back. The one that you don't really – who might be working his way out, although he's had a couple of good games here, and this final stretch plays a part, is a guy we talked about all year. That's Pete Alonso. We don't really need to address it much because it's not a story right now, but man, it's going to be very intriguing what happens with Alonso here, especially Figgy, what you're seeing from Acuña, what you've seen from Vientos, getting Mauricio back. Do the Mets say, hey, we have so much young talent internally, is it worth giving Alonso a 5-year, $140, $150 million deal when we can move one of these players over to first base and get him for under $1 million?
Yeah, no, I think here's the thing, right? You can save a lot of money with all the youth that you have. You probably package McNeil and Beatty, try and get yourself, whether it's more arms or whatever else it may be. You can do something like that and still find a way to keep Pete and bring all this young talent up, because now you have a little bit more confidence than a guy like Acuña, right? You have a little bit more confidence in Vientos and what he's been able to do. If you move Vientos over to first base, there's a lot of different things that this is a different way that fans will look at it. I think they're less thinking with their heart, and they're more open to trying to see the vision that David Stearns has. And we don't know what that is. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I'll sit back and watch the roster construction and all the guys that he went out and got and brought in spring training, and, guys that got let go, and even the jackass over in Oakland who was Adams. Was that his name? Adams?
Austin Adams. What a bozo.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at all these guys and you can visualize how they can get it done with Pete. My biggest thing is the Soto move. Like, the Soto move is, of course, that's the crown jewel, right? But I argued with Mark Malusis today. If the market is set at $70 million for a guy who's 50-50 and has Cy Young capability as a pitcher, then how can you really try and justify giving Juan Soto $60-65 million a year? Like,
yeah, I don't think Mets fans are as invested in getting him now with how far ahead of schedule they see with what. Obviously, you got to go for him. You'd be stupid not to. But if you get outbid, you get outbid. The fact that Mets have done this without those superstars, like Lindor's been the superstar, right, but the second guy, Pete Alonso, has not played like a superstar this year. Yeah, he's got the home runs. And if you box score watch and look at his numbers and you're a casual or you're just a fan of baseball but haven't watched Pete Alonso, he's not been good this year. He's not a player you really want to build around with how he's played this year. So I think they're going to offer Soto something, but you're right. I don't think you need to give him $70 million.
Right. So he's not going to get $70 million. Let's be honest with what he is. Okay. He is the best eye in baseball. He's going to be a Joey Votto high on base percentage, lead the league in that category every year. He hit 40 this year. That's a career year for him. So he's normally around 35 and 100. And he's only a 280 lifetime hitter. I know we see him, put up some big numbers at times. At one point, he was, like 315 this year. He's a 280 lifetime hitter if you look up his number. So for 285, 35, and 100 guy, are you willing to go that high? Because he's not known for his defense. He's not known for his base running acumen. He's known as one of the best plate presence in all of baseball. Now, he fits in just fine as Robin to Batman over in the Bronx. But if he comes over for $60 million a year, $20 million more than Aaron Judge, who is Gold Glove caliber center fielder, has the speed to steal 30 bags, hits 50 home runs in his sleep, and it's not comparable, right? The only thing he really has is youth. He's only 25 years old, so he can put together a Hall of Fame career sitting in front of Aaron Judge in that little ballpark in his sleep. In his sleep, right? However, Boris is his agent, and Boris wants MLB to pay for what happened in the last offseason. He had, 5 of the top 10 free agents, and 4 of them had to wait to get contracts almost to the end of spring training and take 1-year deals.
He's going to have to change Boris is going to have to change his approach this offseason. He can't operate the same way. It's just not going to work.
Nobody's going to want to pay it. I'm going to say it again. You got a guy who's 25 years old. This is breaking the mold for a free agent. You're not just a guy, but you're talking about an elite hitter in his prime, not just in his prime or got through his prime and maybe getting on towards the decline. He's only 25. He's 5 years from 30, and he has already established himself as the best at bat in the game. Okay, now you look at what that means. If he's turned down already contracts of $400 million, right? He's already done that when he was with the Nationals and they tried to give him $400 million. He's going to get a 10-year deal. That's a given. That would be for a regular player. Bryce Harper got 13. He's going to get 13. So he gets 13. So he gets $50 million, 10 more than Judge. 13 years, that's $650 million. That's just 50 off of a guy who can pitch and hit. You see what I'm saying? Like, where is the math going to math enough for you to validate giving one guy a fifth of your of your payroll and be okay with it? I think all of baseball is going to be like, this is what it is. If you don't want to take it, you won't play. Like, I don't think they're going to budge much more. The market has been set. $70 million is for a guy who can do both. He doesn't do both. So therefore, of which he's not Aaron
It'll be
Judge.
around 50. It'll be around the 50 number. It won't be 70.
I get it. It always goes up. It always moves up exponentially. But again, 50 for 10 is 500. 50 for 13 is 650. So where are you going to be able to say he's worth that money? I get it. He's young. I get it. You want to have him in your lineup, but for the $50 million a year, can you not get Pete Alonso and maybe 2 other players?
I'd rather
production-wise,
I'd rather a Christian Walker for 15.
This is what I'm saying. You can get Christian Walker for $15 million a year.
I think 2 years, $35 million for Christian Walker. But here's the good thing about all this: we're in a land it doesn't matter. We thought this would be the big topic of conversation.
Yeah,
the Mets their playoff odds are like 75%, and I don't want to get too excited, but I thought that we'd be talking about that stuff. Like, the number one topic for this show would be, all right, off season, what are we going to do? But the Mets are in a playoff race. No. Arlena says, I want Bader back. Mary says, me too, Arlena. Yeah, I mean, listen, Bader has had nearly a career year in terms of games played. He's right around his career average at 243. And I know all the nerds today, you can't look at average anymore. Oh, listen, I still look at average because I'm not going to look at his OBP. It's under 300. He doesn't walk a lot. He's stayed, for the most part, pretty healthy. He's having a good year. I'm not saying don't bring back Bader, but it's not my first priority.
He'd be a nice fourth outfielder.
Ideally, next year for the Mets, I wouldn't want Bader playing 150 games. I hope they could do better than that in terms of a guy with more production. Arlena Sansoto says he's a good batter, but not a great fielder and can't run. He'll be a DH sooner than later. I wouldn't go for 60. No. Yeah. And listen, he did have a couple of hand injuries. I mean, he's played through it for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Mets fans would get mad as Yankee fans about him walking a lot. I feel like we just like base runners. But, he's a great player. But I'm not, blowing through the kitchen sink and giving him every dollar in the world because there's no way. And it's very interesting news today, Figgy. I mean, how about Steve Cohen basically leaving the everyday trading world at .72? I didn't really understand I think he still works for them, but the day-to-day stuff.
No, Yeah, he still worked for them. He just stepped down from the trading role to actually train the youth, his young superstars, on how to trade, so that he doesn't have to do all the work.
So he can run the Mets. Conor
So he
McGregor.
can.
He's the billionaire's walking in with more time on his hands. Hello, baseball. The king is here. He's just strutting around like, get out. Get out. I'm here. I'm paying attention. Screw point 72. It's all about the New York Mets.
Think about it this way, right? So we talked about this before. When you speak to someone like an owner, you have to speak in terms of investment. You have to speak in terms of productivity. You have to speak in terms of being able to predict the market, right? You've got a guy in David Stearns that speaks his language. And how do you know that? He is all in now. He is not hey, I don't know baseball. I let the baseball guys run baseball. He's like, keep talking. Now I'm understanding what that means. I can see the point of, on base percentage. I can see the point of why we need more guys like this. I can see so he's starting to learn the ins and outs, and it's getting more and more interesting to him. And so a guy of that caliber, where he's already done amazing things in the business world, he has invested himself into the sports world, and he's starting to see return on his investments a lot sooner than he thought. And now he's going to really push in because, as we said, the Soto thing was always thought to be Steve Cohen's just going to outbid everybody for him. And now you sit there, better use my $$60 million to make my team better and for a lot longer, So that's, I think, the biggest thing to figure out how long you can with these contracts. How many guys can you make these offers to? And New York is a fun place to play, man. Remember, that was the knock on New York. Oh, it's a disaster, dysfunctional. Guys would come here just to up their price and go where they wanted to go. I think this offseason is going to be much, much different for the New York Mets.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point because the fun is apparent around baseball because look at all the players that are sharing the OMG song of their story. Look at all the Latino players who are like, that should be, forget Manaea, Severino. Bring back Jose. Like the Mets have to, you might even have to give him a lifetime deal. Like sign him and Candelito, his alter ego, and him all to a lifetime extension.
Kenley Jansen. Did you see that? Kenley Jansen was wearing the shirt while he's playing against the team.
That is a big story. It's no longer like, oh, Bucks. Like you found your manager, you found the fun, and you found a veteran player that you have to keep bringing back on one-year deals. Candelita has to be a Met next year. The OMG movement. It's paid Jay McCustom's rent for life, essentially, with the signs. The one he's holding recently. I'm in the video, by the way, of for packages, season ticket renewal. Summer sent me the video. I'm in it waving the OMG sign from that night. The one he had last night, it's just I had back pain watching it on my dad's pull-out couch, how heavy that new sign is. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And Mary's in the chat said, I think Severino is having the best fun. And I think Severino is going for I'm not going to say he's going for the money where if the Mets offer a little less, he wouldn't stay. But Severino, this is an opportunity for him to cash out. He came here on a one-year deal after the worst year of his life. He's going to get a big contract. And if another team offers more, I can see him leaving. But he's been the king of the OMG sign. He's been the mayor of the sign. He's been holding it down. And what another integral piece, a guy who changed his sleeping habits, changed the way his lifestyle completely to become the pitcher he's become and go out and get the money he's going to get. And yeah, I think he's a chemistry piece that you got to keep. And the Mets have a lot of those high character guys. And that's going to be intriguing, Figgy. Can they get more of those high character guys, those guys that play well together? Does McNeil get traded? Does Alonso go? Do they kind of move on from that McNeil-Alonso era and build around Lindor and Nimmo and some of these other guys they brought in? Sean Manaea is one of them that needs to be back. That's been amazing. Jose Quintana has been really good lately, but I'd be surprised. I think he's probably going to be gone. I think you've gotten all you can get and more out of Quintana after what was a struggles for a couple of months. He has been remarkable. I think he's gone, but I think you got to try to build that rotation around Senga. Christian Scott now out for next season. That was other big news today. Unfortunate, but I saw that coming from about 8 miles away. That you saw that was coming, but Severino, Manaea, Senga, David Peterson's earning a spot. McGill's pitched well, but I think it's a little bit of fool's gold. I'd be surprised if he's part of the rotation. But you have pieces in place and guys who might be on the go, but guys you really want to bring back.
Yeah. So let me talk about it from a free agent standpoint. You don't want to keep going places. You don't want to keep having to redo it all over. You don't want to have to get to know what makes the manager tick. You don't want to get to know what the city is like. You don't want to get to know what the fans are like. You don't want to get to know the responsibility of a few extra $1 million. I think, yeah, they got their opportunity to do things, but I think at the same time they have found themselves in a way that I said, Severino was the ace before Garrett Cole. He was supposed to be huge. He was supposed to be bigger than Harvey. He was right on par with Harvey. Remember those days? And you look at him struggle as a Yankee, never really being able to fix what ailed him. Came over to the Mets and kind of just said, "Hey, make me better." And they were able to do that. They were able to help him with his pitch repertoire. They were able to help him with his sleep patterns, with his training, everything. And I think that is going to carry some weight with these guys. And here's the other thing. The arrow's not trending down for the New York Mets. The arrow's just trending up. You did all this without Senga, without Mauricio, without Alvarez for a chunk of the season. You did all this without the best of Pete Alonso. You did all this with the first month of Lindor being a 180 hitter. So you did all this, and I just think that this team and the players themselves can sense, maybe I want to be a part of this. And the numbers are going to be the numbers. The markets are usually set. They're not going outside of the market anymore. Look at Jordan Montgomery. He pitched his ass off and won a World Series. And they were like, no, you're not that good. Baseball will tell you how good you are and make you earn it every single time. So I do think if you like this team, you like this ownership group, you like this front office, this is where you want to be because you know what's on the horizon. You know what's coming up. You know if they get those couple extra pieces, what this team could possibly do moving forward.
And I also think they're not going to lowball guys because they got the richest owner in the sport. So it's not like they're going to really go cheap here. They're still going to give these guys respectable deals. It's not past ownership. Stearns will be smart about it. He's not going to blow guys out of the water, but they have the money where they could still keep these guys here. And I think they realize some of these guys are glue guys and guys you want as part of the team. But I think the key is they found their manager, they found their groove, they found the fun. And, they had a lot of fun tonight. And a 10-0 win, a sweep in front of 34,000. And I want to talk about this because this has been a big topic on Twitter. And Disha Thozar kind of set off the fire on Twitter about attendance and more fans should show up. And here's my thoughts on it, Figgy, is, of course, I think final homestand, I wish Monday and Tuesday, there were more than 22,000 on Monday, 25,000 Tuesday. It was not crowded, a lot of empty seats. But, Howie Rose, my almost father critiqued it as well and talked about, Shea Stadium back in the day, final homestand. I'm not there. I'm not living in New York. And if that doesn't tell you, I am Mr. New York. When you think of the faces of New York, you think of Jake Brown radio, eating caviar off his finger at Little Dipper. You think of me at Summer Club. You think of me at Met games. And obviously part of it was because I got laid off. But rent and living in New York is exorbitant amount. And I'm not just talking about going to the game. Of course, you can get a ticket on the secondary market, a Jake Brown special at the last minute for $10 and get in the building. Parking, $40. A beer, $16. A surf and turf, my favorite, $40. Okay, you want something less? You want a burger, fries, and a soda? $35. Then you want to go with a family of four, take your kids on a school night, you get school the next day, $150. On top of that, Figgy, the games are shorter. And while that's great on TV and all, and I think it's actually helping people stay home and watch on TV, there's been times I sit and it's the fifth inning already. I mean, these games, if you get there late or you're sitting in traffic, the game is halfway over. And I think that's a turnoff as a fan going to the games. I'm different. I go and, I know my people, I have my ways. But an average fan, it's not fair to ask them to spend all this money for a 2 hour. I mean, it's almost shorter than a movie in some senses. Like a 7-10 game sometimes is over 9:15. You have movies, directed by Tyler Perry that go longer than a Met game. Like, you're paying all this and you're not there for long enough to go. Now, with that being said, it's going to be packed this weekend. And you already saw 34,000 on Wednesday. So I think it's gone up. And then Diane P says in the chat, and getting out of the parking lot's another hour. Yet the commute is almost longer than the game. So on top of all this, the 69th reason, there's nothing around the ballpark. They still don't have bars yet. There's no food. You can't go out to dinner somewhere near the stadium. There's a lot of reasons. So I get it. Believe me, it's frustrating that a final homestand is not packed. On top of all those, it's not the final week of the year. I think if this was the final week of the season, I think that Monday and Tuesday would be a little bit more crowded. But because there's more games, it's not the final week. You're going up against a terrible Nationals team, all the prices and everything I talked about, and the fact that you're going for a wild card, and the fact that if you get the wild card, you're not home for any three of those games. You're not fighting for any home field, barring a Padres collapse down the stretch. All those reasons factor in the Monday and Tuesday not back. While it's frustrating, Figgy, you have to realize the deodorant is $11. Life is just too expensive at this point. I don't want to make it political or anything, but living is very expensive. To ask these people
you
to
can't
go,
eat bacon anymore. It's
yeah.
No, listen, you've hit the nail on the head when it comes to being a fan experience. Faster games is not the move. It's just not. You want to go there. You used to think about going there to spend a day there. We're going down to Flushing to spend a day at Flushing, and you can't do that anymore, right? The bars aren't there anymore. There's nowhere to really hang out afterwards. It's get in, get out, and hope you enjoyed your day, right? Come back again, see you soon, kind of thing. Monday and Tuesday against the Nationals. If you're looking at buying tickets on your calendar, that's not what you're looking for. You're putting your money in the
No one was buying tickets in advance for these, and not enough people even know about Tick Pick in the secondary market where you get cheap tickets. Tick Pick. They actually do a commercial about this.
I love
because
it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But people don't know about, like, StubHub. The fees are a lot. Like, people don't want to do, older people, they might not even have the app where they're used to getting the ticket at the window. I think the Mets got to also do better in terms of, they started the $5 Tuesdays. This whole series should have been $5 everything. They should have lowered the price. The Mets they made it very corporate. Yeah, if this was a big deal to them, they should have did better at saying, hey, everything in the stadium is $5. Kind of make it like a clearance sale, like Party City. Everything goes. Make it $5 everything and make people want to go. Like, you're not making people want to go when everything is the same price outside of the Tuesday. And mind you, those $5 Tuesday lines are insane. You're waiting 30 minutes to get a hot dog. 30 minutes is 5 innings now. You're waiting half the game to get that $5 hot dog. Why not, make a HelloFresh or make a meal at home for the same price? It's a multitude of reasons. There's a lot of things, in my opinion, you could change. That's one. Two is, if it's empty like that, and I know they don't want to do this because it turns season ticket holders off, let the people come down. Fill up field level. Let everyone come down. Get the nicer seats. Because if fans see that on Monday, they might be like, oh, wow, they let everyone move down. I'm going to go tomorrow. Maybe they get a ticket the next day. I think you saw maybe this discourse the last 2 days got more people to go today, or maybe it was the giveaway as well. I think they did the sweatshirt giveaway. That helped as well. But the other factor, something I would do like a pregame concert or do some kind of pregame or postgame party, whether it's concert, you do a food festival, maybe you do a home run derby with minor leaguers before. Do some kind of thing before or after the game that brings people in, and also do giveaways every day with these final games. Like, you had one today, but they didn't do anything yesterday. It was Bark at the Park, but you didn't give anything away. Do giveaways, make everything cheaper, and make fans want to go versus, we're in a playoff race. You got to come.
I like your platform, and I would vote for you as president of the fan base.
I mean, I'm the second best candidate right now, at least. Maybe not the first.
So no, you're absolutely right. Can you do better? Always, and I think they try to learn from all these different things. And you hope that the competitive baseball would be enough, but in this day and age, you want more bang for your buck. And why not give the fans more bang for their buck? Because you're looking forward already to next season. If they bought into this season and all the excitement there is, you want to sell next year already, being like, hey, this is more just the beginning of what we're going to be next year. So get on this train now, and while you were one of the first people to get on this train, we're going to give you a discount, on all the stuff at the ballpark. Go home and tell your friends, you should have came. I got a sweatshirt, one item in the store for $5, whatever it is. Spin a wheel.
Yeah, make it Fan Appreciation Week. They're doing Fan Appreciation Day Saturday, but then Sunday is a night game, which sucks. Friday's an Apple TV game, so you lose Gary Keith and Ron. Sunday is an ESPN game, so you lose Gary Keith and Ron, and it's a night game. When does Fan Appreciation last game of the season ever a night game? Mets got screwed over there. So this weekend will be packed. I think Saturday is going to be about sold out. Friday, I think the same. Sunday, I think will be less because it is a night game. But you got to make it a whole week and give people a reason besides the team being good. The argument of look at what they're doing in Milwaukee. There's not anything to do in Milwaukee. This is New York, one. Two, like I said, cost of living is cheaper in these other cities. There's not a city that comes close to New York. Maybe say San Diego, Boston, they're expensive, but New York, everything is so expensive. It's just a ridiculous ass. Mary says in the chat, I think the biggest complaint is the parking fee and traffic, also an issue. $40 to park. I mean, that's the price of 4 weekday games. Like, I've used vouchers. I've been to like 8 games for the price of 1 parking pass. Like, waive the parking fee. Do this series free parking. Like, that'll get people to go. And also, I've said this, make it an actual express train. Can we stop with this express train that's really not express? It's a skip a station. Like, it still makes every stop. Make it a quicker train ride and make the parking, even if it's not free, $10. Go back to the old days. Make it cheaper.
I'm Nelson Figueroa, and I approve this message.
Yeah, it's just too unaffordable. All right, do the Mets get in? I think it's destiny. I think it's the best story in baseball. They're fun. I think they lock it down. And Figgy, it'd be a heck of a story if they find a way to be able to do it in Atlanta next week and send them. I mean, maybe not send them packing because maybe they'll have a chance to top Arizona, but to clinch in Atlanta in front of their freaking fan base after all they've done to us over the years would really make me happier than if they clinched in Milwaukee. But either way, find a way in. And I think if you do get in, you want to play Milwaukee because Milwaukee's not a team with that ace starter. And on top of all that, Kodai Senga expected to throw a rehab this weekend and be ready for next week if all goes okay. Another major factor to what has been an electric couple of weeks.
Yeah, the other thing is I don't think they're not going to use him as a starter. He hasn't been built up at all to do that. He's throwing it. He's going to be, pen guy that they could use, a stopper that they can use. So he's going to be used as a different stuff. Yeah. The thing is, concerns in this front office figure out different ways to do things that maybe weren't even thought of before. Because hey, this is your staff. He's either a starter for 3 innings or he's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll start in relief, but I think game 1 playoffs, man, what a story it'd be. I want ghost forkballs in the spooky month of October. I want the ghost forkball on Halloween in the World Series. And by God, why not? Why not the Mets go on a run?
We've come this far.
To the World Series. The best story in baseball, the most fun team in baseball. The OMG remix with Pitbull is coming out any day now. It's coming. The boys are hot. And Brandon Nimmo, he said it. He said, we need your help. We need everybody to get out here. We need this place full. This is playoff baseball. This is what you guys want. Nimmo is vouching, which means we have a fun weekend ahead, and I'll be back.
Absolutely.
The FOMO is off the charts. I'll be there Saturday, Sunday. Will you be at any of the games, Figgy? Will I see you at Citi Field this weekend?
No, brother, you know me. My weekend dance card is usually full.
Come on. Milwaukee clinched the division, Mary says tonight. All right.
Yeah,
Congrats to them.
Bob Uecker gave a great speech, very candid. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch, man. This is what you were hoping for. We knew it was going to be a tough stretch to go through. They played well even without Lindor, only losing by 3 runs in the 2 games. So I think they're learning they can go toe to toe with anybody, and that's the beautiful thing about baseball, right? You get hot at the right time, you start believing in yourself, and there's always a guy who comes out of nowhere as a hero that comes out of nowhere that you start telling get ready to tell your grandkids about. Hey, I remember when I watched this in 2024, and this guy was he was was a guy that even Torrens, for a while, it was just amazing for him to give Alvarez a breather and let him get back to, his hitting and working on his hitting. And Alvarez is, working back through being able to hit the ball the other way. So I think this team just has so many storylines. I was very happy that they didn't peak with the Grimace first pitch or the Hoctula girl or OMG even, like this team is a lot more than all the stuff. But as we always used to say, even if our team isn't good, they're always entertaining. This has been by far the most entertaining season that I've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah, the Grimace seat was installed the other day, and I know my buddy Draft Neck Mark did the get off my lawn tweet about it and got ratioed. Well, the Mets are undefeated in the purple seat era. And outside of that day, and I was there when Hawk 2 threw the first pitch, they've been really good since then, besides that one game against the A's, which was a 4-hour game. I remember it was so long. They lost. They walked like 12 guys. After that date, they've been really good. So maybe Hawk 2 girl even get some credit. The Mets have the Midas touch. Whoever shows up, whether they're a Glizzy the dog, who I saw in Philly the other day, and his owner, whether it's Grimace, whether it's Candelita, the 2024 Mets yearbook in a rain delay in 2027 is going to win Emmy Award. There's an Oscar award. I think it's an Emmy Award for TV. As an Emmy Award winner yourself, I think you could speak for that. I actually thought of you in the Uber today. My driver didn't speak English. He was like, no English. I was like, damn it, I don't remember enough words in the academy. Can I teach you about that? Can I tell you about the 7th inning stretch on this ride? Or can walk off win? Can I
fuegos artificiales.
My dad was like, hello, how you doing? I'm like, Dad, he doesn't speak English.
Emergente.
He's like, there's a lot of homeless people outside here in Philly. Dad, he's not understanding. Like, no English, no homeless. No habla English.
Nice.
Anyways, Figgy, well, it's good to have you on. I know you're busy doing things, and you can catch Figgy. Now, you guys have been doing some post games, but you only do that when the game is on Pixel.
No, we already did. That was the first time we did it.
Okay.
It was exciting to do, and I got a lot. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're back on the post game." I said, "That's cute."
They're like, fool you, I'm not.
Yeah, no, it was a great opportunity for us to steal some viewers. We kept about 115,000 viewing our show afterwards, which was fantastic. I think the game had about the max was 230,000 right in the middle of the game, and then of course they started blowing them out, and then Alex Young decided to say, "Hold my beer, let me just waste some more time." Giving up those 3 runs, so it could have been better, but it was a great experience just to do it after a game, jump back into it, give your opinions there and catch some viewers, and hopefully more people to watch the Sports Nation nightly show, 7 o'clock, channel 11 weekday nights.
You went from 115 to 115,000. Wow, what a jump for New York Sports. Or amazing.
That's right.
It's really amazing, but true. It was 115 on some shows with how bad the team was for the most part. Well, Figgy, catch him 7 o'clock. And thanks for coming on Mets Magic.
Yeah, thank you as always, brother. We started this a long time ago. We're not done yet.
Oh, we'll be back for the playoffs, hopefully. We'll do
playoffs.
One final time. Playoffs. Can you believe it? It's. I'm not even going to say it yet because you've seen 7 and 17. All right, Figgy, be well. That is Nelson Figueroa. I think he's on T-Mobile. I don't know. His provider. He was cutting in and out, mic all over the place, sound all over the place, but fun time. Fun time. Diane P said, great show, guys. Thank you to everyone for tuning in live. Thanks for the comments. If you didn't tune in live and you're watching or listening to this on the playback, thank you. Smash that thumbs up. If you are in here, all the thumbs up, all the comments in the YouTube video after help us, help the algorithm. So comment, go follow Sick Pod Mets. Go follow Sick Pod Jets. Go subscribe to Sick Pod Jets. Jets Flight Club, the podcast I host with Eric Coleman. I'll have a post-game show Friday morning. I should be at Jets Patriots tomorrow. I will be at Citi Field for Mets Phillies Saturday and Sunday. Back in the New York groove. I've been very emotional leaving New York. I missed the hell out of it. You leave, everyone says, oh, it'll be good to get a chain. My whole adult life was there. It is not the same here. So I'll be staying in Cherry Hill, New Jersey for the time being. We'll see how long. I've had a couple hits on some potential freelance gigs, so keep you posted if anything materializes with that. But yeah, I'm excited to be back in Citi Field. If you're there this weekend, feel free to buy me a snack. Point. Or a drink. But I'm excited to be back. And, this is a big series. And I think the Mets took care of business against who they had to in the Nationals, but you got to beat the Phillies. Revenge for last weekend. I was there, and it sucked being around Phillies fans. One guy grabbed my nipple at Xfinity Live after the Mets lost. It was a little aggressive. He was hammered. But I was like, bro, what are you doing? That's the most action I've had in a year. Good God. I didn't enjoy it, but geez, getting my nipple grabbed. This is Sick Podcast, Mets Magic. After Dark. Thanks to Nelson Figueroa. Follow me at Jake Brown Radio. Check out my TikTok, doing more there. YouTube, Jake Brown Radio. A brand name change could be coming from the radio side. So stay tuned for that. Working on a lot of different things right now and some things in the pipeline. So stay tuned. But Sick Pod Mets, Sick Pod Jets, go follow them on Twitter. Go subscribe to both. Smash that thumbs up. Comment below. Beat the damn Phillies. Mets take 3 out of 4. We'll be back after Mets Braves series as Stanley Bubbage. What a name. Acuña is the real deal. I agree. Stanley, I don't know why he wasn't here sooner, even if he wasn't going to get the playing time. He's a spark plug. He steals. He plays defense. He hits. Acuña has been awesome, and he's making this Lindor injury for the next couple of days, and maybe Lindor's out another game or two. He's making it a little bit easier to swallow. He's stomach. It's late. But I do think Lindor, you need him back. I think this has been nice, but it was the Nationals. You're going to face good pitching against the Phillies this weekend. So while this has been all fine and dandy, it gets real. Thursday to Sunday. Thursday, 7:10, Citi Field. Taijuan Walker makes his return. Boy, has been terrible this year. That is one the Mets are glad they did not bring back. He'll go up against Severino. Friday, 7:10, Sanchez against Peterson, who is 9-2. Saturday is a 4:00 game. I'll be there. Manaea versus Suarez. Good pitching matchup against lefties. And then the final home game of the season, Sunday Night Baseball, Sunday. Wheeler. As of now, it's TBD for the Mets. I assume McGill might get one more start. Monday, off day, then the massive 3-game set against the Braves. And we'll likely go live next Thursday night, I'm thinking, after that Mets-Braves series. I think these live shows are great, and that is a massive series. So, assume that the next show will be Thursday night. Maybe I'll hop on Monday, but I'll be coming back to, Jersey. So probably plan for Thursday night for the next Sick Podcast, Mets Magic. Good night, Jakey. Good night, everyone. It is late, so we're going to end this. We've gone for an hour. Sick Podcast, Mets Magic, Jake Brown. Thanks to Nelson Figueroa for joining. Keep on winning, baby. This team is electric. Thanks for watching, listening to Sick Podcast, Mets Magic. As always, LGM. Let's go, Mets.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Mets Magic on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.